All right. Today is March 7th, and you know what that means. Today is the State of the Union address given by President Biden. That's going to be today at 8 p.m. Central Time. Now, there are a few big questions looming over this State of the Union. One, namely, being will Biden make it all the way through? There's been genuine concern from both Democrats and Republicans that Joe Biden will not be able to make it through a prolonged speech. President Biden is 81 years old, as we are all aware. Now, this has been a serious concern as recently there's been a height of presidential gaffes. There's been a few goofy lapses in Mr. Biden's, shall we say, he just kind of has some moments. And it's kind of concerning from the standpoint of regular citizens, seeing the president kind of lose touch with what's going on around him. That's not very good. The American people definitely want a competent president, one that will be able to talk to people, and very important people at that. So this will be a big test for President Biden as to see if he can give a good presentation of himself and really sell himself to not only maybe some independents, but his own people that are trying to support him. It's been a big issue for a lot of people in the Democratic Party. His stance on Gaza, that's going to be a big thing too. What will he say about Gaza? Will he I'm sure he will. He'll play a lot of politics. This is going to be a big moment of politics at its finest, where he's going to claim lots of things and make himself look really good because lots of people watch this address, and he's running for re-election as an incumbent. Now, Mr. Biden, a lot of people have been angry with him, especially the Muslim populations of Michigan and Minnesota, people that want an immediate ceasefire. They want all the death to stop happening in Gaza, fueled by U.S.-funded weapons. A lot of them attribute all the deaths directly to President Biden as his policy. He is a very unwavering Zionist, and he stands very in support of Israel's actions that they've taken. He has scolded Netanyahu a few times because of his really aggressive policies, but President Biden has not tried to withhold any aid to Israel. So that has caused a schism in the Democratic Party between those two factions. How will he address that? I don't know. I, for one, think he's gonna kind of just not mention it. That might be a big thing with AOC or Mrs. Tlaib. We're gonna see if these people in Congress and the Senate, these people that support a ceasefire, there have been many large, for example, in the church, when Joe Biden was speaking at a church, a few protesters started yelling at him, and we're going to see if he gets any protests of that kind tonight. I don't think so, just because of the State of the Union. Just historically, people don't really protest that much because it's such a big event. It's very discouraged, but who knows? Some people are very passionate about this issue, and some of the members there, I'm looking at Tlaib, may openly give some voice to the issue. Now, as far as Ukraine, I think he's going to push for a united front for Ukraine aid. He seems very adamant about that. He's very pro-Ukraine, as much of the Democratic Party is. There's been a massive shove from the Republicans as to cut off aid to Ukraine because they feel like the war is not going to stop. It's just going to keep going and going and going, as it is now a war of attrition between the state of Russia and the state of Ukraine. Now, I believe he's going to talk a lot about the economy, as how a lot of economists have been talking about. The economy is kind of on an uptick, and he's attributed to that, or at least he's claiming responsibility for that, despite many Americans still being frustrated with inflation and the high costs of basically everything. Now, I'm sure he's going to talk much about the environment, how he's done much to protect the environment, and I'm sure the Republicans will love to hear that. But as far as the actual topics covered, I think that's really going to be it. I think he may give some pitches for his reelection, may throw a few jabs at Donald Trump, probably talk about democracy a lot and how he thinks that it is at stake, along with much of the Democratic Party, because that seems to be what they're pushing for. They're not really, it's kind of sad to see, but it looks like that the Democratic Party, instead of getting behind Joe Biden and actually supporting the president as a presidential candidate, they are against Donald Trump. They are running not for Joe Biden, but against the other guy, which is a sad thing to see in American politics, because obviously we want two good choices and we want the American people to decide the better of the two major choices. So I think he's going to talk about that. It remains to be seen. Now, the other big question regarding whether or not he's going to make it through is, I mean, how long is this going to be? Is he going to go 2 hours? Is he going to go 30 minutes? Usually the State of the Union is a pretty long speech, and because there's lots to be covered. And any other president, I think, would take full advantage of this situation to talk about themselves as much as they possibly can in a positive light, and really get people fired up for the general election to go and vote for them. But President Biden has had a slew of mental gaps and a lot of just kind of lulls when he's talking. He kind of seems to disengage from reality at times. And I'm sure the Democratic Party has noticed this. They haven't been giving him very many public outings and speeches. I did recently see, though, in contrast to that President Biden at an event that was forgiving student loans, that President Biden gave a short speech there, but he seemed to be very cognitive and actually engaged with the audience for that. Granted, it was a small audience, and they were very pro-Biden. It was a very receptive audience, and they were very supportive of the president, so there wasn't much pressure there, but he did give a pretty coherent speech, which has not been the case as of late. So I don't really know. It just depends on, is he here tonight? Will he be giving a cohesive view into what he believes is going on? Or will he crash and burn? Those are the two questions. If I were the Democratic Party, I would be a little bit concerned with Joe giving a long speech. I would be a little bit concerned if he went off teleprompter, if he just stopped reading, or if he had any big lulls. I would be very concerned about that. So I would try to keep this, if I were the Democratic Party and had control over Biden, I would keep this short and sweet, short to the point, and not too controversial. But I'm sure he's going to talk long and hard about himself and everything that has been done under this administration, but that remains to be seen. So I will give a sort of like a brief analysis once he gives the speech, and see what the takeaways are from it. But we won't know how it goes until it happens. So stay tuned, and I'll create that video, my reaction to the State of the Union. These are just my precursory ideas as to what he's going to talk about. We'll see. I think it's going to be interesting no matter what happens. So we shall see. But those are my takes. Thanks for watching.